On TikTok and Instagram, a new wave of AI-generated clips is reaching millions, depicting biblical events with cinematic realism. Whether it's Moses at the burning bush or the parting of the Red Sea, these digital stories make ancient miracles more visible than ever. Long before these viral iterations, the same narratives were the primary subjects of history's greatest painters. These artists weren't just illustrating a story, they were trying to capture a specific human frequency. In Rembrandt's 1633 seascape, a massive wave shreds the sail, while seasoned men scramble with the rigging, visibly fighting for their lives. While both modern AI and classical art focus on the drama of the rescue, the text itself records a confusing, sharp conflict, one where the primary threat isn't actually the weather, but the reaction of the people inside the boat. The geography of the Sea of Galilee makes it a natural trap. It sits in a deep basin, and when cool winds from the surrounding mountains collide with the warm air over the water, they create sudden, violent squalls that can turn a calm evening into a life-threatening disaster in minutes. On this night, the boat was filled with professional fishermen who had spent their lives on this water. They knew exactly how dangerous these storms were, and they were completely terrified. In the stern, Jesus was so exhausted from a day of teaching that even the battering of the waves failed to wake him. The frantic disciples finally shook him awake, asking if he even cared that they were about to drown. Jesus stood up and with a few words commanded the wind and sea to be still. The storm vanished instantly. But instead of offering comfort to his shaken friends, Jesus turned on them. He asked why they were being cowards and why they still had no trust. To an outsider, fearing for your life during a shipwreck seems like a rational response. But Jesus treated their panic as a profound failure. In ancient Near Eastern cosmology, the sea was the abyss, a chaotic domain opposing the ordered land, home to demonic forces. To the disciples, a violent storm was a spiritual manifestation of evil, an attempt by the abyss to destroy God's established order. When Jesus shouts, "Peace, be still," he isn't just performing a weather trick. He uses the exact same language he used to drive out demons on land, acting as a divine warrior subduing an active, hostile threat. This wasn't a case of bad luck with the wind. Mark frames this as the binding of the strong man, a physical showdown with the powers Jesus had come to unseat. The significance of the disciples' panic is revealed by looking at the timeline of the Gospel of Mark. Just before they got into the boat, Jesus had explicitly conferred his own spiritual authority to these specific men. He didn't just tell them to watch him, he commanded them to cast out demons and enact the kingdom of God themselves. But the moment the wind rose, they immediately reverted to being passive, helpless victims. They possessed the very power Jesus used to silence the waves, yet they acted as if they were already dead. The rebuke was so harsh because Jesus expected them to lead. He had given them the authority to command the chaos, but when the moment of truth arrived, they chose to scream for a bailout instead of standing their ground. They had been equipped to change the outcome themselves, yet they stood by and watched the water rise, forgetting they were no longer observers. The transition from a roaring hurricane to a dead calm happens in an instant. The wind stops, the waves flatten, and the world goes silent. In that silence, the disciples' fear doesn't disappear. It simply changes direction. They stop trembling at the waves and start trembling at the man sitting in the boat with them. They are suddenly confronted by a person whose voice carries more weight than the natural laws of the sea. This shift in reverence, moving from a fear of the chaos to a fear of the Creator, is the only force strong enough to overwrite the human instinct to panic when the world is swamping the boat. Most of us will never be trapped in a literal storm on a lake, but we live through the modern equivalents: the sudden health crisis, the loss of a career, or the quiet collapse of family. The uncomfortable truth of this story is that faith didn't prevent the storm. Jesus was the one who told them to cross the sea, knowing exactly what was waiting for them in the middle of it. To overcome these moments, we have to stop acting like passive passengers, waiting for the water to take us. It calls for active trust in the authority and peace that have been made available, even when the wind is at its loudest. True faith isn't about wishing the wind away. It's about facing the chaos while resting in the same peace that allowed Jesus to sleep through it.